What is up, everybody? Welcome to the CheezeTalk Podcast. I'm your host, Brian, and tonight I am joined with a good friend of the show, Mick Stephenson. Welcome back, Mick.
Hey, Brian, just glad to be back, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah, it's been a while. How you been?
I tell you what, man, life's always fun, but with the Packers,
For sure. Let's hit on the Brewers. How does that sound?
yes, let's get the pain out of the way.
What are your thoughts on how that season ended?
Well, Brian, my first Brewer game was in 1976, and I was a kid, and I got to see Hank Aaron DH for the Brewers, and they lost that day. And I remember thinking, there will be World Series that I will be a fan for the Brewers to win. And 50 years later, this was the most painful of all. I mean, I thought we had the Mets cooked, and when the ball left the stadium, it was that familiar thought that, all right, well, Packer season has started. It's doing good. The Brewers lasted until Packer season, but yeah, I love the team this year. I love the job Murphy did. Thought he did a tremendous job, and I sometimes just think our Brewers are cursed in the playoffs, man.
Yeah, do you I see today Reese Hoskins opted to come back and play for the Brewers next year. That's a good start. Do you think they'll retain or try to go after Willie Adamus or Adamus?
I hope they do. I mean, as Brewer fans, I mean, we develop players like Braun, we develop players like Fielder, we brought in players, and then we always lose them, whether it be Burns, because of contracts and all of that. I think Adames loves being a Brewer. His numbers are clear. He deserves to make a big contract. And Hoskins coming back, he may have gotten more on the open market. He had a decent season. And I hope Adames may, consider, if the Brewers are willing to negotiate, take a little less to stay in Milwaukee. I mean, I hope both are back.
Yeah, it would be nice to have them in the lineup for sure. This seems bad luck. I mean, their former player came back and kind of hurt him in the end there and kind of put the game out of reach, What was that? What was that guy's name?
What was that?
Yeah, Winkler or whatever his name was.
Is that it?
Winkler.
Yeah, like oh, the antics of him, I mean, the Brewers, he was never really that good for us anyway, and yeah, I thought that was a little over the top of a marginal player like him, but hey, sometimes a team, gets rid of you, and you've got an axe to grind.
Right. Hopefully we can maybe make a splash with pitching in the offseason a little bit. I mean, we had good pitching, but just as sometimes Devin Williams came in his blue games. Like
Yeah.
we had for sure wins, and he came in and just let a bomb go off,
Well, we'll see. Does Woodruff have a legitimate chance to reclaim some of his old form? I mean, it's a mighty big surgery he had, and he missed well over a full season now, and we'll see if he can come back and add something to the rotation.
For sure. Yeah. I remember at one point in years past we had the Bucks playing, the Packers playing, and the Brewers playing all on the same day.
Yeah, we almost had it. If they could have just gotten past the Mets, we would have had it again.
Hey, at least this time the Mets didn't win. It seems like a lot of times when the team that the Brewers lose to goes the furthest in in the playoffs, and makes it that much worse for us Brewer fans watching the team that beat us in the playoffs advance that far. So I'm glad the Mets didn't make it too far.
Yeah, I mean, every team that beat us for, I want to say, and I may be off a little bit, 14 different seasons, all went to the World Series. Half of them won the World Series. And, this year's World Series, it was just kind of nostalgia Fernando Valenzuela dies right before the series starts, and he was a Dodger pitcher when I was a kid that I just thought was great, and Reggie Jackson for the Yankees, and then it didn't turn out to be exciting at all. The Dodgers just kicked their butt.
Yeah, I'm gonna show a comment here. A guy I went to school with back in the day said Brewers will never pay enough to keep bulk of the talent, and it costs them in the postseason. Yeah. The other good,
You can't argue with that at all.
right? I mean, you think back to like when when we were younger, you had like Prince and Ricky Weeks, and they brought in Sabathia for that half a season, and he leaves the Brewers and goes to the Yankees, and that right there, when you're the smallest market team in baseball, that's the kind of disappointment you deal with. Unfortunately.
I sometimes say the American League and National League should be the high market teams in one and the low market teams in the other, and let them fight it out in the World Series. Because teams like the Brewers and the Reds and some of these other, they're never going to be able to compete contractual wise with the Dodgers.
Right.
Payrolls are 3 times what the Brewers are. And
I always thought that why can't Miller Lite just drop all their endorsements with baseball and just take over the Brewers and have a high payroll?
Boy, not only what they pay the Packers for, the complete and utter Miller dominance at Lambeau, but you're right. There's the money there.
Yeah.
Or Harley Davidson, even. Some of these guys step up.
Or even like what was the family that just latched on with the Haslams? Didn't they purchase part of was it the Bucks?
I think it's the Bucks.
Yeah.
I wonder if they bought out Aaron Rodgers' interest in the Bucks. I don't know. Didn't he own like 5% or something like that?
Something like that, yeah, but he couldn't chug a beer to save his life.
Yeah, exactly. Bakhtiari made a fool of him. Yes.
Dustin Schultz, small market teams can compete. White Sox won a World Series doing exactly what the Brewers want to do. Very true. I remember I was in Chicago for work when the White Sox won the World Series. That was crazy.
But the White Sox are out of Chicago. You can't compare the White Sox to the Brewers. The White Sox don't spend as much as the Cubs, but they're not a small market team out of Chicago.
The Cubs, yeah, that was quite the turn of events for the Cubs. Thick and Steele and Craig Counsell, then all of a sudden, boom,
What the Brewers, 9 out of 12 or something like that. They absolutely dominated them this year. Which, living close to Chicago as I do, I enjoyed watching those games. But then worst team ever. I mean, baseball on for 120 years or something, and they're the worst team ever.
Got a question for you, Mick. So when you make your commute from Indiana to Chicago, do you go around and not pay tolls, or do you go straight through Chicago?
It all depends where I'm going and what time it is. I love going through the Skyway and just zipping through the city. I mean, say if I'm going to a Packer game and I'm leaving early Saturday morning, I'll zip right through the city. If it's more of a visiting friends or doing something in Chicago, I'll probably take the 294 bypass. But I've got one of those iPass things so I can go through the fast tolls.
Yeah. I know a few years ago, my daughter had a cheer competition in Schaumburg. And on the way down, we're not like we go to Chicago every weekend. So, I've been there enough to know kind of my way around a little bit, but we ended up hitting the tolls on the way down. And on the way back, we went around some out of the way. We went up to like Gurney Mills and we went around to a way where you don't pay tolls at all. We're like, this is a nice little scenic route, not going through the busy highways, and pretty much running parallel with 90-94, and pretty nice. But I have to admit, like Chicago, their skyline is my favorite skyline in the world. I love their skyline. I've always been infatuated with Chicago skyline ever since I was a little kid. So maybe it might be the reason. Maybe the reason is I have family from down there, like on my my biological dad's side, and
Sure.
I don't know. I just being a pizza lover and Italian, you think of Chicago, you think of the deep dish pizzas, and
Oh
you
yeah.
can't go wrong with Giordano's or Lou Malnati's down there for sure.
Louis, I lived in Chicago suburban area for 8 years and couldn't afford to buy because of how crazy it is down there. So I'd rent an apartment or a condo and always made sure I was in delivery distance or driving down and picking up from a Lou Malnati's, man. And
Yeah.
now I go out to Scottsdale and visit my parents. They now have a Lou Malnati's out there in Scottsdale now too, and I'm thinking, okay, excellent.
Yeah, I had we were down there, we ordered a Giordano's pizza. Holy crap, that thing weighed like 30 pounds.
Yeah, the stuff. Yeah.
I'm not going to complain though. It was really good.
Oh, and you eat so much more than you would eat normally, and you're like, I don't care how I feel tomorrow, but I'm
Hey,
going to eat.
I don't care how I feel in the morning, but I'm going to have cold Giordano's for breakfast in the morning too.
Exactly. Yes. Yes.
Speaking of Wisconsin sports, the Milwaukee Bucks,
Hmm.
they kind of went younger with their bench over the offseason. Pat Bev is playing overseas. I was just seeing some trade rumors about Brooke Lopez. What are
Seen
your
those.
thoughts on how they're doing so far this year?
I think, and maybe this is just hope more than reality, but I think this team's just going to have to find itself and get better throughout the season. If you look at the talent on the roster, I don't mind the fact that they went younger in some of those areas. You know, we're starting to age as a roster. I mean, Lopez is what, 35?
Yeah,
And Portis is no spring chicken. And obviously, Middleton, we know with his injuries and everything. So, and it's not that I don't like Doc Rivers. For whatever reason, I just get the feeling that he's just not the coach for this team. I think it was a mistake initially getting rid of what was his name, Bulldozer,
Adrian Adrian Gri- Adrian Griffin before Doc.
Griffin.
Yeah, Budenholzer.
Yeah, Budenholzer. I thought that he was developing the team pretty well. I liked him. And then the Adrian Griffin, I thought, what? We were 30-13 and they canned him. And I'm thinking we had one of the best records in the NBA. And then you look at their records since Rivers came in, and all the talent's there. I
Right.
mean,
It's interesting they brought back Darvin Ham. Do you think they'd ever get rid of Ham or get rid of Rivers and go with Darvin Ham? But at the same time, how much aren't they still paying Budenholzer money?
oh
His
yeah,
salary? They're paying him. They're paying Griffin to get rid of Doc. You're going to be paying Doc Rivers too. On
mm-hmm.
top of that, paying the current head coach that they replace him with.
Yeah. The Bucks front office is. If they got as much scrutiny as Brian Gutekunst, they'd be gone. You know.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Do you think in the next couple of years, if they don't produce a winning record, do you think that they would ever consider trading Giannis?
I think if Giannis really wanted out and they have integrity, that they would. I mean, we were loyal to him, took him when he was very young, developed him, and all of that, and he has been grateful and appreciative of that. I think Giannis is just a quality human being. But I think if we don't go far in the playoffs for the next 2 seasons, yeah, I think that it's a distinct possibility. And we're going to have to gut the roster if we do that.
Yeah, and if just imagine the overhaul we could get though if we did trade him. I'm not saying I want to trade him, but like you said, he's been loyal to us and he's been a good, like you said, a good human being. But just think of the return we can get for him if we ever were to trade him.
I mean, that will be a very difficult decision. It'll be a franchise defining thing. But in 2 seasons, if we can't get her done, I mean, when we did win it, we thought, man, we're going to be right here contending for years. How it's gone downhill since then is kind of shocking. But yeah, in 2 years, if it doesn't work, then get whatever great haul we can, decimate the roster, and build your way back.
Right. Like I have said against Brook Lopez, like he's too slow to react. Like on defense, by the time he puts his hand up to block, the ball's already past him. What's the point? You're just wasting your time and energy to block a shot that's already past you. You know, it's in my eyes, it's stupid. You know,
If he
Portis,
if he could shoot
Portis,
from the outside, we would have let him go. But every once in a while, he comes through and with hits like 4 or 5 threes, and he has the outside jumper going. But he's certainly peaked. He's not going to get any better.
oh for sure. And you look at that DeLone Wright and Taurine Prince. I mean, they're good role players, but my gosh, I was watching the game. I was watching part of the game a couple nights ago, or whatever it was last night, and they just couldn't make a shot to save their life. You know, it was just bad. I turned it off, and I think that was the night that the Dodgers won the World Series. I just turned the Bucks off and just watched baseball.
It was a thrilling comeback.
Yeah, what they're down 5-0.
By the Dodgers, yeah.
That's crazy. Yeah, like I said, I don't want to see I don't want to. I'd like to see Lopez go. I don't want to see Giannis go, but I understand. Like if he wants to go somewhere else, I'd honor his request to go elsewhere for sure.
Let's just not to the Bulls. that would be tough to deal with. But
the Bulls or the Lakers.
Yeah. Or the Celtics even.
And that makes me wonder too. It's like if we would have kept Drew Holiday, we'd probably be in a better situation than we are now. But then him and Dame. What's their age difference? I don't even know who's older. I think Dame's older, isn't he?
I was going to say it's got to be close, and I might say Dame's a year or two older. And we thought Dame would bring the extra scoring punch and be a better shooter. And but you look at what Holiday's doing with the Celtics, and yeah, it's a tough call. I mean, I was a little shocked when they got rid of him, but what do I know?
Well, and Holiday was over representing Team USA in the Olympics.
Yeah.
Dame was in the offseason working on his rap albums and his shooting.
Yeah, exactly.
I got Mr. Knowledgeable, Dustin Schultz. Dame's 34 years old. Awesome.
All right.
Thanks, Dustin. How old is how old's Holiday?
30, 31?
Holiday?
Yeah.
I'm not sure. Well, I'll have my stat guy here to look up Drew Holiday's age. Let's move on. Let's move on to the Packers.
All right.
I think the last time we talked, did we even hit preseason?
No, it was training camp right before preseason started, I think.
Okay, so from what you thought you would see to what you're seeing, what has impressed you the most?
Impressed me the most is the running game. 156 yards a game, average rushing. I would have been happy with 120. Obviously, the controversy over Aaron Jones leaving and Jacobs coming in. I think Jacobs has absolutely outlived expectations, seems to be getting better, not injury prone, and even the backups. Wilson doing well, this new guy, Chris Brooks, that shows. I think with that kind of rushing game, it just makes Jordan Love better. And I think as the season goes on, we got Lloyd coming back, the draft pick that's been on IR. If we can rush the ball like that, we're going to be tough to beat. So as far as highest over expectations, running game.
Yeah, I'm excited to get a healthy Marshawn Lloyd back.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really excited. As you know, I was high on him when they drafted him just because of the tape I saw. And the thing about Aaron Jones that I've noticed is, like, I was watching, I forgot what game it was. I think it was the last game, the game they lost. Like, when they were running him, they were doing really good. Like, they looked unstoppable. And once they quit going to him, they just looked confused and not really productive at all. With Jacobs, obviously if he's doing good, we're doing good. We could have, our backups in there and be just fine. As far as like offensive production, like we have the receiving core, 4, 5, 6 deep wide receivers, 2 deep tight ends, I think it was a good move by the Packers in the end. I don't. I know for a game or two, or Jones was hurt or had an ailment where he had like a knee or like an ankle, some type of injury. But Jacobs just seems to be more fitting for the role that we're looking for. You know what I'm saying? He's more durable.
Absolutely, and I love Aaron Jones, and I always will. And he was one of my favorites when he was a Packer. But being 4 years older than Jacobs as well, Jacobs carried the ball 25 times. I think he carried it 20 the time before. I don't think Jones at his age could be that kind of workhorse like we're using right now with Jacobs. And having those backups be able to come in to spell him is great. At the same time, it sucks he's with the Vikings, but I wish nothing but best for Aaron Jones
No,
to the
absolutely.
Purple People Eaters.
Yeah, nothing but the best except for when we play him. Then you gotta wish.
Yeah, exactly. And I was at that Vikings game.
Yeah, that's just we took too long. We took too long as a team to hit our stride, and by the time we did, there just wasn't enough time in the game. I said,
Mhm.
I've said since that game, if we would have played obviously the first quarter or the first half, like we played the second half, we would have blown them out. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
agreed.
Sometimes by the time you make your adjustments at halftime, it just that second half it's not enough time to come and have a because we held them to 3 points and we scored like 28 and whatever. I mean,
29, 29. Yeah.
so I mean, it's a matter of making adjustments and how quick you can make the adjustments to stop the bleeding. And we just didn't do a good job that game of stopping the bleeding.
Well, the
But
penalties. It seems like the first half, how many false starts, how many, illegal procedures and all of that. We shoot ourselves in the foot with penalties and such. And then, like you just said, it seems like at halftime, we can go in and make good adjustments, which I'm glad to see, especially on defense, because in the old days, Barry couldn't make an adjustment at halftime to save his life. But I also remind myself, we're the youngest team in the NFL. And most teams that are the youngest in the NFL are not fighting for the division championships and the overall seeds. They're more like Carolina Panthers or teams like that. And as frustrating it is when you're this young, you're going to have some mistakes. But it's still, when those stupid penalties happen, I'm just like, Urgh.
yeah, I know in the offseason too, I remember talking with you, raving about getting Josh Jacobs, and I was excited to see him play. So far, he's looking like he's going to be obviously our future back for the next couple of years. And I know you remember me saying this too: is how dumb the Giants were to let McKinney walk.
Oh,
And boy, was I right.
man, you hit the jackpot on that one. I mean, 6 picks, and we're technically not even through halfway through the season, and just a ball hawk, a leader in that defense. I mean, were you watching against Jacksonville when you were seeing Savage? And I'm thinking to myself, okay, we now replace Savage with McKinney. Okay, goody Kunz, you may have not made the best draft pick in Savage, but you made the right decision to let him go and bring in McKinney.
Yeah, Savage, like he had a good couple of years for the Packers,
Yeah.
but those moments to where we could have clinched a win against the Niners, we could have had a pick six, which could have turned the whole game around.
Oh yeah.
You can't help but look at that and be glad that we got rid of him and let him walk. Um, Tucker Kraft, another stud.
Interesting that, at least in my case, I was kind of thinking that Musgrave was going to be the one to step up first and really become a force. And I know injuries and all of that, but Kraft is getting close to taking a step forward to the Ron Kittle type of tight end. It's just, if Love didn't have as many good targets, Kraft's numbers would be that much better. But I think he is a playmaker. He works hard at blocking as well, and that's one that I don't want to let go. I mean, when it comes time for contract extension, I will definitely say Kraft becoming one of the better tight ends in the league?
I think right now he's probably top 5, obviously tight ends in the NFL, if not top 3. Just how important he is for the Packers offense, not only as a receiver but as a blocker as well.
Exactly, and that's what I think separates him. Kelsey, people would laugh if I said, "Oh, he's better than Kelsey," because that would sound stupid. But as a blocker, he's certainly better than Kelsey. And with all our receivers, he's not going to get 10, 11 targets a game like Kelsey would get. But like you mentioned, the blocking is what helps. And when you see 156 yards a game rushing average as our team, you know that that's Kraft in their blocking as well.
Yeah, and you mentioned the 156 rushing yards a game. Was it against the Titans or the Colts? I think it was the Colts. We had 100 and how many yards in the first quarter we had against them rushing?
Quarter, yeah.
But again, then look at the team we're playing. But still, they're professional football players, and you bring in. So Love gets hurt. Obviously, that sucked. Thank God that he wasn't out for longer than what he was.
Yeah.
But then you bring in, you give a backup like Malik Willis a week to prepare for a start in legendary, for the Packers. The opposing team knows damn well we're going to be running the ball, and they still couldn't stop us. That's how good of a scheme LaFleur put together for the Packers. And that just blows my mind how he doesn't get enough respect as a coach / play caller in the league. You know what I'm saying?
I agree. His first few years, people would say, "Oh, he rode Aaron Rodgers. He's not that good of a coach." But then to take Jordan Love last year after the 2-5 start and keep the team together and finish as well as we did, and now come out with injuries. Man, Jordan Love missing a couple games. Devontae Wyatt's missed 4 games. Jair's missed a couple of games already, and he just keeps on winning. And I think LaFleur, there's nothing that should keep him from being in Coach of the Year honors as long as we continue winning the way we have been.
Yeah, it's just there was one play I posted it where I think there was a game. I think Watson had 2 touchdowns, and there's that one play. It shows it from like the aerial view where Watson made that break like maybe 5-10 yards before the end zone. Rumor has it that play was drawn up just before that series or snap or whatever, and they came up with it on the sideline. If you freeze frame that, every eligible receiver on the offense was wide open. Like nobody around him at all. Isn't it? I mean, just on the fly make up a play by what you see on that's a hell of a coach right there. And I would love to play for a coach like that,
And I think he listens. Obviously, either Love or the receiver said, "Hey, we're noticing something here, Coach," and exactly. And I don't want to go backward, but I don't think those things happen like that with number 12. It's just a different approach. And I think that LaFleur now, this is completely his team.
Yeah, and you've heard me say in the past that I think that, Aaron, wanted to run his show on the field, and that's kind of left a sour taste in our mouth. Again, thank you for what you did for our team and for the organization, but it just became that time that you had to go. like that show Keep with Sharon and Ozzy Osbourne. Ozzy used to get so drunk and he'd go up to Sharon and be like, "Sharon, it's time for you to go."
It's time for you to go, Sharon. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I will say, though, for all the excitement that I have, there's a couple of big concerns that I have at the halfway point, too. And the lack of pressure on the quarterback's a little alarming for me. I certainly, with Gary and Van Ness, I was expecting a lot more. That's going to be a situation to come back to bite us later if we can't find a way to get more sacks and pressures back half of the season with a lot of tough games ahead.
Yeah, well, you saw it when McKinney had that sack. Those ends are getting like double teams, so that's his perfect chance to go right off the back of his shoulder and just dart in there and do this, which I think we should do more often with him or like Evan Williams or even Keyshawn Nixon, because they're all fast. You know what I'm saying? So
Mm-hmm.
I just hope that, like, I understand the game of football. I understand that the offense wants to double team and stop your best players from getting to the quarterback. But Van Ness, hopefully he shows some stuff here in the second half of the season. And Gary's starting to come around a little bit better, but they've got to find ways to get rid of that, the blocking.
Well, what would you say? We need to have at least 3 sacks or more against the Lions if we're going to have a chance to win this game. We cannot let Jared Goff just sit in the pocket.
You know what's crazy about this game? It's the Lions' first game outdoors this year.
Game 9. That's insane.
Right, and he's not too successful in rain games either.
And
it's
like it's going to be pouring, right? From what
yeah.
I see.
I didn't listen to the interview. All I saw was like the caption when they're interviewing McKinney today, and like he doesn't respect the Lions for the way that they've been blowing out teams. So hopefully the defense has a little extra special something up their sleeve for the Lions on Sunday, and just totally give them a taste of their own medicine.
Well, I hope so, because you think about it, we dominated the Lions for so long. But other than Thanksgiving last year, they kind of had our number for the last 3 or 4 seasons, and they don't fear us. In fact, they're kind of cocky, because they've handled us pretty well. But I'm hoping after that Thanksgiving game and being at home, and we haven't touched on this yet, but I think Jordan Love's going to play. And it's going to be interesting because Myers is going to be out, so we've got to do a little shuffle on the offensive line. But I certainly hope Love plays. What do you think?
I think he'll play. Although it's not ideal weather for a groin injury, but I'd say he's questionable, right? Him and Jair are questionable.
Yep.
I think he plays. Because they have a bye week after,
Exactly. And it's the biggest game of the season. This could be the difference between a home game later, a division championship, or a wild card. There's all kinds of stuff this game means. Now, I would also, I hope in practice that they gave Malik Willis plenty of snaps, because if the groin tightens up on him or something like that, we need to have Willis ready to go right in and play. But if Love is cleared, which it looks like he will be, they say game time. You never know. It could be one of those last-minute inactives. But he's our guy. Would we have ever sat Brett Favre, in a similar situation? No.
No. Favre wouldn't have given the team the option. He would have stayed out there regardless.
Yeah, exactly. And even Rodgers. I mean, Rodgers, he had a couple injuries, but he was a tough guy. He played. Rodgers would be starting in the same situation too. A lot of fans I see, we need to rest him and then the bye week and make sure he's healthy. And I'm thinking to myself, and nothing against Willis, but we lose this game at home to the Lions and have to go face them later on. That's not something I would rather do.
What part of the Lions defense would you attack?
I mean, I would attack their secondary, but at the same time, use the run to set up play action. Our running game is too good. I'm not saying that I want Love to throw 35 or 40 passes. I mean, whatever it takes to win, but I think their secondary is vulnerable. I would get Crafton over to middle too, because I don't think their linebackers are good at coverage. Their defensive line's very solid, and we might not get 4.5, 5 yards a carry, but we just keep running it to open it up. Eventually, it's going to come down to Goff against Love, as long as Love's still in there.
Yeah, I would attack where Aiden Hutchinson was.
Yeah,
as much as I could. It'd be nice to see them instill. I'm trying to think of what program at Penn State. You know how they run that lineman in motion, and he
Yep.
gets him past, and he turns and he cracks in the defensive end. We ought to do a play like that. You know, I mean that's being creative, but it's being smart at the same time.
Unlike being creative like the Bears and handing it to the backup center on the goal line, what you're saying is, yeah, it's being creative but not being stupid.
Yeah, I that clip of Williams throwing the ball into the back of his lineman's helmet. Yeah, I would attack, like you said, the secondary. I would attack where Aiden Hutchinson was, even though that didn't seem to work the last couple of games or last whatever. But I mean, maybe we have a code to crack it. You know, they're not going to have Jamison Williams, so focus on Amon-Ra St. Brown, Gibbs, and Montgomery scare me though,
Hmm?
just because of the way they run.
Our rushing defense has been disappointing. It's strange. We give up a bunch of chunk runs, but then somehow have a way on 3rd and short of coming up with big plays. But we give up far too many runs of 6 or more yards. And we can't let that happen because, like you say, with Gibbs and Montgomery, they got a 1-2 punch that if we let them run up and down all game long, it's going to be rough. But like you're saying, though, it's going to be a wet grass surface outside. Will they be able to run as well as they're used to?
Right, and the Packers they picked up, what's his name, Jamin Davis, former first
Yeah,
round pick with the Redskins. Do you think to elevate him Sunday for the game?
I really couldn't tell you. I mean, obviously, if they're looking to have an extra pass rusher and he looked good in practice, or if the guy's good at special teams. Otherwise, I would doubt it until he at least has. I mean, it's not like kicker with McManus that you come on in and kick. You got to give him a week or two. But again, nothing surprises me if he's playing well on special teams, which right now that's another weakness of ours is our special teams. But I think it's a worthwhile signing. You know, the guy obviously has a great college career and started in this league.
Yeah, you mentioned McManus and last game. What game was it? I'm like, yeah, he's gonna win the game for us. Sure enough, you know, Willis led the team back down and got us in range for a field goal, and it's the thing that's been killing us all year. Has won the last 2 games for us. It's kind of ironic, you know, that we've been through so many kickers, and I think we finally maybe found our one that we are going to go with for the rest of the year. So that's a good thing.
We're not every single kick, you know.
Hope I didn't jinx it. I hope I didn't jinx it.
No, because Carlson is now for the 49ers, and he's missed a couple of kicks for them too in some key situations. So
He was 5 for 5 one game, but didn't he miss like an extra? He missed an extra point, I think. But he was nailing from 50 yards.
oh, the kid has a great leg. I
Right.
wish and all of that, but we just couldn't. In McManus, we got a guy that's proven. He's been there, you know, and glad we have him.
Yeah.
Regardless of whatever happened in that stewardess situation, I'm glad that we have him.
Yeah. My buddy says sign McManus to a 5-year contract. I would sign. I'd probably off season. I'd sign Malik Willis to a 5-year contract as the backup, and McManus.
Oh, and how about our punter Whelan, man? Is he not a weapon? That guy, both as a holder, I mean, he mishandles that terrible snap against the Texans, and you know that whole game ends differently. But Whelan, when he's back in his own end zone, is routinely getting 50-yard nets off of punts, and yeah, that for as good as our special teams is in several areas, then the dumb plays on special teams that you just cover your face. To the point where Bisaccia, I like him. I really do. I think he's a good coach on the staff, but I'm almost saying we need to bring somebody else in at some point on special. We can't afford these special teams mistakes as we near the playoffs.
I'd bring in just Robert Saleh just to have a brain.
Oh, for that. I think that's I think that's fantastic. And I love his role. I'm scouting the opposing defenses to work with the offense. So it's not like he's butting heads with Halfley on our defensive scheme at all. I think that was just a little gift to have him in as a part-time coach.
Well, they're all good friends.
Yeah, yeah. What was
So
it? He was at Lafleur was best man at Saleh's wedding or something like that.
yeah,
Maybe.
and then Salah and Halfley coached in San Francisco,
Yep.
and then they know the Campanino. They know the linebackers coach. So I mean, they're
Mm-hmm.
all good friends, you know. So it doesn't hurt to have extra eyes and ears as a buddy. They could be like, hey, fly on in. You can like LaFleur, stay at my house, and just come to practice. And that's kind of like the old country boy, But I think it's kind of cool that he's helping out after 12 got him fired in New York.
Yeah. The coach firer.
Yeah, the not coach whisperer.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you think Willis will get $40 million a year if he plays this week and beats Detroit with 3 touchdowns? I don't know. Look at what Matt Flynn did for us, and he got paid and screwed the Seahawks over.
And then the Raiders, he got 2 contracts. What a good thing is with Willis is we have him under contract for next season cheap. So
Right.
we've got time. I would love to keep him. I would love to sign him to a contract. If he keeps doing what he's doing, yes, somebody's going to offer him huge money like they did with Flynn. But hey, we got him under contract next year, and if someone wants to trade us a player or a first or second round draft pick for a 7th, that was what Ron Wolf used to do all the time, and it always worked.
Yeah, I always said, well, I've been saying this a lot this year, is seeing how our, top, 4, 5, 6 receivers are panning out for us so far, which they're doing really good, which, they're all going to be coming due for a contract at some point within a year or two of each other. I always said keep the top 2 that you want to keep for the team, and then trade the others away for draft capital. Why not?
For me, Reed is the number 1 that I do not want to let go under any circumstances. I think Reed is becoming a poor man's Tyreek Hill kind of player. I also really like Romeo Dobbs. I mean, he's never going to win the biggest speed or all of this, but the guy runs good routes and has good hands. Those would be my 2 that you re-up. I love Watson. I'm not saying I want to let Watson go. I think as the season goes on, we're going to be giving him more targets because he's still very tough to cover. Great downfield threat. And but Watson could be one, as much as I would not want to lose him if the offer came in. Because, I mean, Wicks is a rising star, but he's inconsistent a little bit. But I think Wicks wouldn't get the giant contract, so I certainly think Wicks has a future. But you're right. Of the 6 we have now, we'll probably be able to keep 3 or 4 of them after next season, probably.
Yeah, people are, kind of, you see it online, people are going after his dad, like with these Watson trade rumors and stuff. But Watson's the kind of player you want on your team. He goes out there, doesn't seem like he's making a big stink about not getting all these passes. He's getting decent. He has a few touchdowns. He's downfield making blocks. He's doing all the right things. He's the type of guy you want to play for you, So I would love to see Reed, Dobbs, and Watson stay on the team for keep the band together. Like LeBron, Wade, and Chris Bosh. The Heatles. Well, we could be like keep them together.
And I hope so too. I mean, I sit and think that I still have not given up on Musgrave. The guy's had a lot of injuries, but between Kraft's development and tight end,
well, he's clear number 1 tight end. He's got to be tight end.
Yeah. And we're gonna have Jacobs for a couple years, and he's showing himself to be a very good receiver out of the backfield as well. Um, the way our cap's going to go, we don't really, other than receiver, have any big contracts that we're going to have to worry ourselves with. But like you said, whether it be if Rasheed Walker stays as our left tackle and Tom, we're going to have a lot come at the same time, but we've got about 2 years left, I think.
Yeah, unfortunately, like you said, Musgrave, he had a great, season last year, and I just think back to the game against the Cowboys where how in the hell is he wide open with like nobody within like a 30-yard radius of him, and
Yeah,
managed to stay up on his feet too. But Kraft has
that's good.
since that game, Kraft has become our clear, in my eyes, clear number one when both are healthy.
Hmm.
And you figure when Musgrave and Kraft, because they're both drafted the same year, correct?
Oh, yeah.
So when it's time for them to have a contract, keep Kraft, and the money you could pay Musgrave, you could probably pay 2 or 3 rookies to come in and try out for your team. You know what I'm saying?
Sure. And we got a couple of what's his name, Patrick, the new guy that we signed a couple of weeks ago, and we got a big 6'7" tight end on the practice squad. And Ben Sims is certainly as our number 3. He's adequate, decent blocker. So I think if it comes down to contracts, yeah, Kraft is our guy. I think that he's only going to get better too. He's a first down magnet.
Right. And and people go back to like you think of the people that were upset that, we traded Aaron Rodgers, and how things worked out with Bakhtiari and how things worked out with Devontae Adams. Those 3 guys and their money that we would be paying them right now if they're selling team, we'd be just as bad as the Jets are. We wouldn't have the defense, we wouldn't have the offense, and we'd be sitting here wanting everybody in that organization in Green Bay to be fired.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But here we are. We made the right decisions, and we're reaping the benefits of it. We got a captain on defense. We got a captain on offense. The defensive captain, from New York. We got, Xavier McKinney. We got Josh Jacobs. And they're both putting up big numbers for our team. I mean, it's clear to see that Gutekunst is just a genius.
I agree. And why is it that there's still this contingent of fans that rip the guy week in and week out? And I want to just look at them and say, go back and play your Madden. I don't know what you're seeing, but Gutekunst is a top 10, if not top 5 GM in the league. And no GM hits on every draft pick. And, his first round picks. If you're going to find a way to criticize, that's fine. But like you're saying, overall, the moves, straight from the Jordan Love pick to now, we couldn't be much better than we are right now.
Right. And then you want to go and say we never drafted Jordan Love, a first round receiver. So,
Yeah.
Okay, what's your point? Who was our last good first round receiver that we had?
Javon Walker.
Javon Walker, and he left our team too.
Yeah.
And he went to Denver and became nobody.
Yep.
The only reason why he was good is because he had Brett Favre.
Exactly.
And then you look at Greg Jennings. He was good in Green Bay. He goes Minnesota, then Miami. He was a nobody. I mean, you look at Jordy Nelson, James Jones, Randall Cobb, Devontae Adams. I mean, they weren't round 1 draft picks. It all depends on who you surround your receivers with.
Mm-hmm.
And people are going to want to come and play with Jordan Love if he keeps playing the way he is,
Absolutely, and I think that he is such a good team player. I can see how the guys love him. It's a different relationship than it was at the end of Favre's career or the last few years of Rodgers, in that they're similar of age. They hang out in the off season and work out together and all of that. And that was just something that as Favre and Rodgers got older, they stopped doing. And Love just seems to be just genuinely a hell of a person,
Yeah, I mean, he stopped, was it last year in a snowstorm in Green Bay on the way to a game and helped the girl out of a snowbank?
Yeah, I saw the video of that.
Come on.
But
no. What's that?
I said, good thing you didn't hurt his groin. Shove the woman out of the ditch.
He couldn't claim workman's comp.
Yeah. sorry. So you make a little too much.
No, I just think getting rid of Aaron Rodgers, like I said all the time, thank you for what you did for our team. But I'm glad we're in the position that we're in now. This team, they're vibing as one versus like in the locker room, instead of having like 2, 3, 4 different groups of players, they're all one big group, and they all they all go to work for each other. And like McKinney was saying when Jair was trash talking with Stephon Diggs, you mess with him, you mess with me.
Yeah.
And look at the karma Stephon Diggs got. He's out for the season now.
Oh, really?
I think he tore his ACL.
Oh, I didn't see that. I'm just hoping. So no wonder with Nico Collins out, no wonder Texans are all of a sudden can't get any offense going.
Isn't that terrible? In the
Yeah.
beginning of the season, people were comparing Jordan Love and CJ Stroud.
Yeah.
And then ever since we beat the Texans, it kind of went downhill for him.
Yeah.
What did he have last night? 82 yards?
86 yards passing against us.
86 yards. What did he have last night against the Jets?
Oh, 101. I mean, it wasn't much more, really.
Yeah, and Devontae, did he get a concussion?
Well, it was interesting because I had fallen asleep, but he's on my fantasy team, so I have a vested interest there. So I get up this morning. He came down really hard on the sideline. They took him into the blue tent. Then he went into the locker room, concussion, and then came back out and played, which you don't see very often. But he did come back in the fourth quarter after that.
So the Jets must have the Dolphins team doctors when Tua got his first concussion.
Exactly. Yeah.
I had a buddy Dustin, he just texted me, if you want me to fact check live for you, I will. People do that.
We don't fact check.
Hey, I'll start having him as a third person on every podcast. He'll be a regular.
That sounds good. The more the merrier.
Yeah. So when's your next game, Mick? When are you coming up again?
Right now, it's the Bears will be my next one. I had tickets to the Lions game, but my son is for his birthday, and he got engaged both this summer. So my present to them for engagement and birthday were tickets to the Lions. So Michael and Ashley and a couple of their friends are heading up tomorrow morning, and I may find another game to go to, maybe the Saints game, but the Bears game for sure.
No, So, Dustin, I know you're not being a jerk. I never called you a jerk. I think that'd be awesome to have you on. And then he responds by saying, I just love research. Yeah, that's cool. That would be cool to have a fact checker on.
Absolutely.
So I've had on Chuck Metz. He's my last one I had on. He lives in Raleigh, North Carolina, and he has season tickets too, and he can't make all the games. So I asked him, what do I have to do to be like part of the family to reap the benefits of having, an adopted father to, get tickets. So I'm going to ask you the same question. What do I have to do?
Well, I'm still on the green list. I've got the gold package right now, but I'm under 1,000 on the green list because, funny enough, when I was married, my wife got on and I got on separately, and we've been divorced 15 years, and she reminded me this year that she still has the tickets and she changed them into my name. So it's wonderful that I've got the green package coming too. But hey, would love to, as soon as they do the schedule next year for gold, we'll figure out a game to do, man.
Yeah, for sure. So the Bears game, you'll have to let me know, and we'll have to try to meet up somewhere.
Yeah.
How does that sound?
No, I just want them to schedule when the game is going to be, because they keep saying to be determined. I'm hopeful that they flexed it to Saturday night, because that would be tremendous fun. Last game of the year, could be playoff repercussions and everything. And then I could sleep in on Sunday. My worst thought is if they flex it to Sunday night, and you got to go in that bitter cold late into the evening and then be up super early and fighting traffic in Milwaukee and Chicago on the way home. So Saturday night would be perfect for me. But we'll probably go up Friday. I'm not sure if we're going up Friday or Saturday morning yet. I mean, but we could certainly try to make that happen.
Yeah, I would love to meet up with you somewhere, and um, I'm not going to as you probably saw earlier. Today's my 3 years of sobriety. I hit 3 years no alcohol, so that's a big achievement for me. Um,
Sure. Congratulations, man.
yeah, thank you. Those that knew me at my worst and are still with me at my best, appreciate you, and um, especially my wife and my kids. It's rewarding to know that I'm not in that situation anymore. It's
Absolutely,
just
man.
being able to control my decisions sober, and knowing that, if something were to happen to any of my kids or my wife and I had to drive somewhere and I was under the influence, and that would just be the ultimate like kick in the face if something were to happen.
Absolutely.
Um, so yeah, that's I remember clearly because last night trick or treat the neighbors behind the house 3 years ago. This a younger couple, they're married. I think they have a cat they let outside, whatever. Anyways, they had like an adult beverage stand with like a homemade like one like like those big tea pots where you can pour your own drink out of it or whatever.
Right.
That was my last alcoholic drink 3 years ago on Halloween night. So it's walked by there last night, and that's the last place I grabbed a drink from. So it's kind of nice to come full circle on Halloween, knowing that was my sober date. So yeah, it's pretty cool.
And life's never been better, man.
Yeah, it's awesome being able to control, like I said, control uh my actions sober. So yeah, Dustin, life is more clear without booze for sure. Anything that alters your mind at any time sucks. So
Well, happy
um,
anniversary, man. I think it's great.
thank you. So what are you guessing for the game this weekend? What's your prediction?
You always find that I always predict the Packers to win every game. They should be undefeated every year. I think with the game this week, it's going to come down to pressure. If we allow Goff to stay in the pocket, look at some of his numbers: 18 out of 19, 16 out of 18. If we can get pressure on him and run the ball well, I think we can certainly win the game. But the Lions are, I think, probably the best team in the NFC right now. They're experienced than we are. They're a little more veteran laden, but there's just so many variables in this game. Does Willis play? Does Love play? But I'm going to say 24-23 Packers. McManus for the third week in a row wins it on the last play.
Yeah, and that's the thing too is any quarterback can be good if you can dance around the pocket for 6 7 seconds, because eventually the,
Yeah.
the the defender trailing the receiver is going to get tired, and the receiver is going to gain ground, and it's just a nightmare. So if maybe they have Salah in their ear,
Yeah.
halfly thinking of creative ways to get at Goff quicker than what we've seen in the last 8 games or whatever, 7 8 games. So maybe there's a whole different type of defense that we're going to see out of the Packers on Sunday that they've been saving. Maybe that'd be kind of cool.
Well, Devontae Wyatt, I hate to say it, leads our team in sacks with like 3. Fact check guy, make sure on that one. But if not, he's close, and he's missed 4 games. He's back. I think that's going to be important for us on getting some inside pass rush. They're not going to be able to just absolutely double team Kenny Clark on every single play. And I do think I want it to rain. I think we are more used to weather and all that than the Lions are. And I know for the groin of Love it would be, but let it rain, and let the best running game that's going to be. I mean, J-Mo's out, as you said, so Williams, and that certainly helps because that's their biggest downfield threat that's out of there. They got a couple of defensive line injuries that I think will help our running game. And as long as we avoid both like we did against the Vikings and last year against the Lions, where we dig a huge hole with penalties and bad plays and fall behind early, if we can avoid that, I think we win at home.
I'm going to say this, and you're going to laugh, but I think Edgerrin Cooper needs to get a fresh set of Cooper rain tires on his feet and go after Goff.
Yeah. We get 3 or 4 sacks, that changes the Lions and it slows down that offense. And the slower game, the better. And with them being used to turf and now rain and grass and all of that, it's just play smart. Do not get those 6 first half penalties that have us, absolutely just freaking out. And we're going to win it.
Yeah, I think we're going to see some looks from our defense that we haven't seen all year. I think there's certain packages, certain plays. You don't want to throw everything out there right away. You want to save stuff for games like this that are impactful for now and for future in the schedule. So I think it's going to be a close game, but I think the Packers win. I'm going to go with maybe 28-24.
Gotcha.
I just think that they're going to shut them down in the first half, hopefully, and we're going to see some special stuff from our defense for sure. So I'm going to write that down, and 28-24. Dustin, what did you say you think the score is going to be? 34-29? All right. Yeah, I think it's going to be a good game, but I think we're gonna win this game in Green Bay, and then we're going to win the game in Detroit. I really do.
The Lions may end up with only 4 or 5 losses, but the 2 of them from us. I'm good with that.
Yeah. Dustin, there's not going to be little defense in this game. We're going to see something from our defense we haven't seen all year long. Stop it.
Run defense and a pass rush.
For sure. Well, Mick, I wanna say thank you for coming on tonight. I really appreciate it. Thanks to all you that have commented and were part of Dustin. You never stop. We're part of the show tonight. I appreciate it. I love interacting with you guys. Mick, where can people find you at?
Basically, right now I'm in a transition period of selling my house and all of that. So the best way would just be find me on X or Twitter.
You moving to Green Bay?
What's that?
Are you going to move to Green Bay?
Well, it's a possibility. I'm looking at Scottsdale, Green Bay, or staying around here. We'll see how it plays out in the next month or 2.
Okay. Well, you'll have to keep me informed if you come to Green Bay. That'd be awesome.
I certainly will.
And I'll be in touch with you again. I'll get you scheduled to be on again here in the next few months. And as always, I enjoy having you on, Mick.
I have a great time, Brian, and I always appreciate you inviting me on. I appreciate your patience as I had to kind of cancel late on you a couple of times, but really glad we were able to do it tonight, and I look forward to the next time.
Yeah, absolutely. I just got to do something here quick. Sorry.
No problem.
Alrighty. Well, yeah. Again, thank you for being on, and you say you can find them on Twitter at, was it Stephenson Mick?
Yes,
right?
That is
correct. Is that your handle, Stephenson Mick?
That is my handle.
Alrighty.
All right. Thank you all, and have a great evening. Go Pack, go.
You as well. Thanks, Mick.
Yep.
Go Pack, go. Bye now.